Good morning, friends. From Marketing 1311 class, this is Randy Saleh, your instructor, and I thought I would put together a few videos for you, basically like we would have in our lecture class. We'll go through our PowerPoint, so if you want to get your PDF binder that I've made for you and follow along, of course you'll follow along right here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're safe amongst this very strange time in history. And so I just hope everyone's doing very well. Let's go ahead and kick this off. We are in the marketing mix and we are looking at products. Now we had some products lectures right before our spring break. And so this today we'll look at the product development in the life cycle. Our objectives. How companies find and develop new product ideas. There's a defined steps in the new product development process, and there's stages in the product life cycle and how marketing strategies can change during this life cycle. Hey, we all have a life cycle ourselves, and so does a business, and so does a product. I will split this lecture into two parts, and so here we go. Samsung, all right, Samsung users, it's your turn to praise yourselves. You know how much I love Apple, but I love Samsung in the same regard. And I don't know if many of us can remember what Samsung really was. Now, back in the 80s and the early 90s, Samsung, first of all, is a behemoth of an organization. They are South Korea's prize and probably still their largest company for that country. They make ships. I mean, they're shipbuilders. They're product engineering, their software engineering, their electronics engineering, make semiconductors. Their consumer side is just a division of what Samsung does. So, back in those times, you bought a Samsung like a VCR, yes, telephone, even have those, not cell phones, but old computers. You bought Samsung electronics if you could not afford what brand? Absolutely. If you could not afford a Sony, Sony ruled the day in consumer electronics, certainly in the 1980s and even going into most of the 1990s. And so that's what you bought. You bought yourself a Samsung. I just can't afford a Sony. Let me get by with a cheap VCR. So the company is and has been largely run by the Samsung family. And in 1995, the CEO basically said, I'm tired of being laughed at. I don't want to be the last. I want to be the best in the market. So they took all their consumer electronics off the market. Now that is a bold move. And the theory was we're going to focus on engineering components. We're going to see how we make the best technology for other companies that we're doing and put them into our own. And what he did is what we've learned in marketing. He repositioned the product, took it off for so many years that you almost forgot about Samsung. And when they came back, we'll see the results. Now, Apple and Samsung love to fight each other in the daytime. You stole this from me, we don't like you. But for many years, Samsung has been some of the leading suppliers for the iPhone processors, back to the A9 processor and all the way through the what we see today for the iPhone 11. They basically make $80 off every iPhone sale. So yes, we fight in the day and we cuddle up at night. It's kind of an old war strategy right there. So, repositioning. I don't know if anyone remembers the flip phones, but they were so cool because they made that great noise when you just closed it, little clapping noise, and you could just whip it out real quick and actually talk to somebody. So, several years of product and development research, Samsung repositioned its entire line and brand. Now, they had one goal when they came back during all the time of their engineering and research. We are going to overtake Sony as the world leader in consumer electronics. So 2003, here comes their new line. Did they meet their expectations? Within 10 years of re-entering the market, Samsung did overtake Sony as the world leader in electronic products. Who has a Samsung TV? Absolutely. They're fantastic. They are number 2 in smartphone sales. And who's number 1? Well, that would be Apple. Still, 29% market share. Very, very largest appliances. I don't know if anyone has a Samsung refrigerator, dishwasher, or washer and dryer. I mean, they really make some cool stuff. In fact, Consumer Reports, which is a great magazine to have. Again, if you want to cut through all the marketing mess, Consumer Reports, as I've said in class many times, will buy the products, they get no sponsorships, and they give you the best ratings. And they've rated their large appliances for many years. I have not seen it this year as A grade, as the grade of an A. So, and years ago, through a stretch, they were putting in $40 billion in a period of 5 years, and I think that's 5 to 9, in product in development. And so they really did a great job. They used to have the wow factor, which meant it's got to wow us to get past in our product into commercialization. There are the top 10 brands worldwide. Again, these may fluctuate from year to year, but Samsung's certainly in the top 10. New product development. Why do we do it? Well, it's the lifeblood of an organization. We need new products. Original products, of course, we have new and improved, all right? We've got to get our consumers excited about buying our modifications, new brands. It's the lifeblood. And of course, services as well. We understand the service sector is a huge economy. What new services can we add to our business line? The development process, this could be a great career for many of you, certainly in the creative side or in the engineering side. We have to understand consumers, all right? It is all of the behavior that we go through, the markets, the competitors, and we want to develop a product that's going to be different than others. So it has to deliver superior or just an amazing value to our customers, because if a new product comes out, you have to switch from something you're using to this new product. And as we have seen in this class, that is not an easy thing to do, change. Super easy though, right, on new product development? 70% failure rate within 2 years of all new products. Now, that's a huge number. Most businesses can't last to year 5 or 6. That's a 60% failure rate, but this is even harder. And look, there's some pretty big companies out there that mess up. Does anybody remember Web TV? This was a great deal for whoever sold it. Again, I forget the names of the company, but Microsoft bought that, I believe in 1997, 98, the late 90s. Again, the internet is coming out. Now we can use it. It's accessible. Went from a science and Department of Defense network structure to the entire world. And Bill Gates and company bought Web TV for somewhere around $400 million between cash and stock. Do you have one? Of course not. That never took off. It was just a way of routing a keyboard to your TV and you could surf the internet. Now, some say that maybe Microsoft's vision was the internet on every TV, and Steve Jobs' vision was the internet in everyone's pocket via your phone. Coca-Cola messed up. Oh, another one on Microsoft, the Zune player. We've talked a little bit about that. It was big, bulky, and of course it was not compatible with iTunes. This is in the neighborhood of a $500 million investment for Microsoft, which again, a giant company. Certainly didn't put them into bankruptcy by any stretch of the imagination. But even the big companies, my friends, mess it up. There's Sony's Betamax. Now, you have to live back in the 80s, such a great decade, where recordings are just coming out. You've got movies coming out, and our Sony went with the smaller movement of beta, and all the American market went VHS. And so I had a beta player, and here we go. This lost a lot of money for Sony. They had to basically reconfigure to the VHS format. So, not an easy process. Big companies do it, and big companies can also lose on that. Here are the steps. Major steps in new product development. We have idea generation, we have idea screening, we have the concept development, marketing strategy. I mean, it is a long process, and we're going to flesh this out one by one. Idea generation. Hey, this is where the creatives come together and see what's trending, but what can we create that consumers are going to love? Maybe thousands of ideas. Where do we get them from? Internal sources, internal social networks, hopefully the sales force that's actually communicating and employees that with customers on a daily basis. We have external ideas. Many times customers, it's called crowdsourcing, can come in. And of course we always look at our distributors, our competitors, our suppliers, and just have the eye of what's going on in the marketplace. Employee involvement. I hope you are able to have some sort of employee involvement throughout your career. Many times, as an organization, Tarrant County College neglects that. Years ago, we had Proctor U that was forced on every student who was taking an online class, that it had to be literally, these guys are actually proctoring exams, and it didn't work well. A lot of money was spent, and our students were just so frustrated because they could not take their tests unless they scheduled it. It was a big mess. So employee involvement. If our employees don't know what we're trying to do as an organization, that's not a great communication flow, is it? Google X. This is also an offshoot of, I believe, Moonshot, and in the early days of space development, it was called Skunk Works. This is where the creatives come in, almost secretive at some point, where we are looking well into the future, what kind of products and services will be that customers will want. And I hope that you can have a company like that to work for, that's that interesting and creative. And the idea with the Google X is that, hey, get an idea as fast as possible. Let's not take a year to think of it and produce it. Get it to commercialization. Really not commercialization. Get it to product concept and watch it fail. And fail a bunch of times so we can figure out how to get it done better the next and next time. And that's literally where Google Mail came out of. Some people in their deep think tank said, we need our own email. What if we just put it in this route? And Google Mail came out very, very fast. So that's what some cutting edge companies do to get that new product out there, to get those ideas. Again, crowdsourcing. Now, crowdfunding is where we try to get money, but crowdsourcing is where we invite a broad band of online communities, people to follow in the new product development process. Selected ideas get rewarded. Years ago, PayPal came up with PayPal Galactica. They believe that space travel will be imminent in the next 20 to 40 years. And, for those who go on space travel, again, that is for like commercialization. For if you're wealthy enough to buy the ticket, you'll be able to travel around the moon, I guess, or even deeper in space. You'll need money. And so hard to bring quarters, hard to bring dimes and nickels and a few dollar bills. So your PayPal account will be the official money in space. Now that is very, very forward thinking. Idea screening. All right, we have 3,000 raw ideas. 300 worked, 120. You can see, my friends, how it gets down to one commercial excess. So again, how do we screen? Is there a real need for that product or purchase? That's a point we can look at. Can we win? Does the product have a competitive advantage? Do we have the resources to produce it? Just as we have the supply chain in place, there's so much that goes on with a new product or service. And again, will it provide the profitability and the growth? And very large organizations right now believe that may be very long term. If we'll look at Uber and Lyft, they're really not making a profit, and they have not made a profit. But that doesn't mean they won't in 5 years from now, and that may be our main mode of travel. Who knows? Big time thinking. All right, we found your idea. Can we get a concept of that? And that is, we draw it out. We've got to be able to show that to our consumers, start putting it in their brain. Hey, this is what this is going to look like. So the image right now. We are literally trying to position that product in the conceptual stage. So what will our customers think about that product? Will it be very high end? Is it going to be low end but very high value, easy to buy, etc., etc.? All that begins in the conception stage. Then we try to develop it. All right, how many are excited about this Google car? Now, this was done many years ago, right? But we're trying to say, well, if we had a self-driven car, autonomous driving, we've got to make something look like that. So find out how attractive it is, and then design. Now, that was an Apple car. Apple has stated that they are not in the car business. But, that doesn't mean they won't change their mind. Then we test it. All right? So we get a group of our target market, who we believe our target market's going to be. All right? And we're going to go ahead and stick with the idea of the autonomous driving right in here. Okay, so it's got to be symbolic, physically. Customers are going to have to get their idea that this is the new product that we're asking them to buy, and then we want to change their reactions. Hey, it's interesting, but I hate that design. Okay, but they may still see the need, and they see the value long term. Well, let's keep talking about driverless cars. All right, 44% of U.S. drivers would consider to purchase a driverless car within 10 years. Now, this data was pulled out in about 2016, so we're talking about 2026, maybe 2025. Now, 55% would not, of American consumers and American drivers right now, would take an assisted. All right, I still have my steering wheel. I can still take it, and if I get scared, 20% say they would pay the money for it. All right, so we're okay. I would like it. Now, will I really pay for it? Ford, and I have not checked the data, but by next year, believe they were going to start mass producing driverless cars. So we can see the need, and then we've talked this over in class. Hey, what's your car doing in your home right now? It's just sitting there. When we were actually having classes on campus, your car was simply in the parking lot. What if that car dropped you off? It went to maybe help your brothers or sisters or mothers or father, parents, siblings. They could then use it. It could drop them off. That car could then go to a cool Amazon store in the future, grocery store, which we'll look at during this unit lesson. Load up with food, groceries, and then come pick you back up from your classes and take you to work, and then go back home, let someone unload those groceries, come pick. I mean, a lot of cool stuff that could happen. I mean, just conceptually. So we are going to go to some sort of driverless car in the future. How long? We're going to find out. Now that might be different, the Tesla Corporation. When Tesla, Mr. Musk, came out with his idea, the story goes that Elon Musk wanted to say, I think I can make a fully electric car and have it perform as well, if not much better than a normally gasoline aspirated carburetor type of car. And so that was their mission. Their mission wasn't necessarily to be a large company. So there it is. Consumer Reports tested this several years ago on the Tesla S. They have a road test in their headquarters in Connecticut that they test every car with. This was the only car that received a perfect 100 on its score. Now, my Porsche 911, which I'll get probably at the age of 75 years old, and I'll Thelma and Louise it after that, but it scored like a 97, so it was very close. So yes, did the goal come through? They did. They hit it. $100,000 plus for that car. Now, trying to commercialize something that amazing is not easy, certainly because the supply chain is difficult to get every single part that they need, but they've been doing it. The next jump in this equation was to make a mass market fully electric car. I mean, there's no gas. This is not a hybrid. You just plug it into the special Tesla spots around the area. So it was pegged at $35,000. They could not hit that number. As of today, I believe you can hit one for $39,900. But if you want the full features of everything that's possible to do, it's right around $60,000. So, and they are selling. So, there we go on our concept to commercialization. Again, do we think about marketing strategy once that product is constructed and made? The strategy is going on in the idea phase, really. Who's the planned value? Where's our target market? What type of sales? The marketing mix strategy. This is, again, if you're the numbers type of person in your career, this would be a good place to have one. We're doing lots of projections for our product or service. Of course, there's our analysis. Now, there's another Google car. I believe that's on a Toyota Prius, self-driving. The sales, the cost, the profit, we want to see, is this a worthwhile idea? Because we know 70% fail within 2 years. And so we want to make it and turn it into a workable market offering. And then we test market it. We don't have to, but this is a stage that can happen, I should say. This is where we introduce into a realistic market setting. Now, we live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and that is the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge going into Dallas, one of the bridges. And Dallas has always been a very interesting test market because we're right in the middle of the United States. We have a lot of influx of people who have moved from different areas of the United States. And we know how well our economy is doing, which we've talked about many times. So it's a very good test market. If it could work in Dallas, the organization may say, hey, it can work throughout the United States and possibly beyond. So this gives us an idea of the success before full-scale introduction. If it fails here, I mean, if people in our area aren't going to buy the food product, whatever it is, will they buy it anywhere else? And again, because we are such an amazing economy for the last 25 years. It is a time-consuming process. This is why some companies can't afford to test market. They have to go with their best guess and move forward. Because as you test it, now you may test and redesign, you are showing your competition, and of course, depending on the organization, if it's a large organization that's test marketing, someone else is going to see that and say, hey, we need to jump on this right now. And of course, more delays. We've got lots of money in here. Do we just hit one area, or is it best to whatever geographic area we're going to hit, like maybe just the south or the southwest of the United States? Test marketing can work. It also does have some of those disadvantages of showing our poker hand to everyone else. And then we look at commercialization. We've thought about the product. We've had all sorts of interesting ideas. We've gone to a concept. We've gone to development. We've gone ready for commercialization. When do we roll it out? Very interesting times. Would we want to roll out a brand new electronic product? Maybe it's an upgraded laptop or a phone in January. Yeah, probably in January, you're more of your business to business products could be unveiled, especially in industrial areas. But consumer products, yeah, we're all kind of broke, right after Christmas, and it takes us a while to get more momentum up, and so we want to look when we would have it, the fashion before the season. So we know fall fashion certainly comes out somewhere in June, maybe even late May, on the top of the fashion there. So always before the season. Spring fashion literally came out in December or even November. At least you got a sneak peek of what's going to be the thing to buy. Your laptops, your iPads, back to school. Back to school generates $85 billion worth of spending. So that's heavily hit in the month of August. We have usually, Steve Jobs always rolled out that iPhone somewhere in October. Why? Well, we're getting ready for that Christmas shopping. And so everything has to be ready and in stores so your consumer can buy. Yeah, it's just, you have to look and see where, when to hit it. I believe there was a Kickstarter funding program for a cooler many years ago that had, it was a cool cooler where you can put your drinks in, and also had some sort of a radio or stereo on it, boombox, and put your phone up to it and Bluetooth in. It was really cool, and it launched in January, and of course nobody bought into it. They didn't see the need. It was too cold. They weren't thinking about going to the lake, going to the beach. They took it off, and they relaunched it back in, upped it to about May, June, and the product took off because people were in the mindset, yes, this could be great. Kickstarter is a rewards-based crowdfunding. So if you basically funded the company your $50 or $100, whatever it was, you would get the cooler yourself. But they could, we could understand that in the summer, but the wintertime they had to literally take it off of Kickstarter because no one was buying into it. So yes, when do we march it through? We're going to look at the product life cycle in our next video. So I'm going to stop that there, but come back and I will have the product life cycle ready for you to watch.